I'm 100% on board with Latham being, um, my favorite, one of my favorite tackles in this class, and definitely on board for him being a Jet.
Yeah, I would not be upset if the Jets made this the selection at number 10. We mentioned it real briefly there, but you were talking about Olu Fashanu. Now he measured
Yeah.
in with 8.4-inch hands, which was like wildly smaller than the rest of the top tier tackles. Everyone else was 10-inch or 11-inch hands. Is there
Yeah.
any correlation between small hand size and tackles the way there is with a quarterback or maybe a wide receiver, or is that not as important?
Well, listen, I don't think it's is as important, but it definitely has something to do. I mean, listen, grip strength is a metric that it comes into play when you get your hands extended and you get onto that the person that you're blocking. I mean, there is something to say. I don't think it's something that has to be necessarily like a red flag that's going to drop them off, as if Kenny Pickett had 8.5-inch hands or something like that. Someone who's got to hold the ball and deliver the ball, so on and so forth. But it is a factor. I just find that it's very weird that he's 6'6.25" and has 8.5-inch hands. Like,
Yeah.
that's odd.
That threw
That's
me for a
odd.
loop. I'm going through all like the measurements and everything, and I'm doing my whole list. I was like, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna rank the top 6 as I see it. And when I got to that, I was like, man, he is like wildly different than everyone else. Joe Alt, freak of an athlete, he is 6'9", running a 5.05 40 is friggin' bananas. The other guy that I'm sure we'll get into in a moment here, Amarius Mims. Wow,
Yeah.
man, if he had more snaps, he might be my favorite offensive tackle in this draft. He is
Yeah, and
really,
listen,
really good.
and like I said before, and I've talked, in our group chat, and I've talked about this numerous times. Like 5 years down the road, he might be the best tackle that came out of this class, and I mean that wholeheartedly. Like the 30, where is he? 36.25-inch arms at 6'8", 340 pounds. Ridiculously explosive with almost a 10-foot broad jump at that size. Again, hit the metrics that you're looking for. 178 is a little bit slower than some in the 10-yard splits, but again, at 340 pounds, 6'8", 178 and a 5'7", 40-yard dash. I mean, the guy can move. I knew that the athleticism that he showed on film was going to play out very prominently in his combine testing. Again, I don't think that's his problem. I think for him, it's more of a functional strength thing. He just needs to get stronger. He needs to get more. He needs the strength to. He does a good job in mirroring defenders on the island. That's not a problem. I think that he needs to build some more functional strength and really fine tune his hand placement and his handwork technically, so that he can ward off some of the power rushers and some of the counters that he faces. The guys that convert speed to power on the end, usually do a good job against Olu. But he's a good prospect. Again, I'd be happy with all 4 of those names that we talked about if they ended up in the Jets' lap. But the consensus is, there's a lot of guys. The consensus is probably still Alt is probably the everyone's favorite tackle, but guys like Latham and Fuanga seem to have been usurping Fashanu on his in the big consensus rankings, so on and so forth. There's a lot of people who are a little bit down on Fashanu, and I even saw a mock draft. And again, mock drafts are just what they are; they're exercises. But one from somebody that I really like and seem to appreciate the work and the study in his eye, and he had Fashanu falling all the way to the Cowboys at 20 whatever. So
Wow.
kind of
Jeez.
crazy. Yeah, there was 5 tackles taken before he was the 5th tackle, 6th tackle. I'm sorry, because Fontenot that he had above him too. So
Fontenot, with the arm length was going to be a question for him, and he actually went above that 34-inch mark on the arms.
he
So
did.
maybe he does go as a tackle instead of the interior guard that a lot of people thought he was going to be.
Yeah, and a lot of he's a hot name since the combine. He's one of the guys who probably saw his stock rise the most in Troy Fontenot. There's been a lot of buzz. Those of us in Jets world who follow Connor Rogers. Connor Rogers has him as his, in the top 11 of his overall board.
Mhm.
That's a little too high for me. I think that there's still some work to do in regards to his play strength and his functional strength. I still think that he might, he's very similar. I think a fair comp to him in play style is AVT. Could
Mhm.
be an all world guard, but suitable at tackle. Again, he's got a little bit. He hits a little bit more of the marks in regards to size and length that you want to see. But I think AVT might have a little bit. AVT might be a little bit more physical. Might anchor a little better than Troy Fontenot. But listen, he's a guy that's crawling the board. Don't be surprised to hear his name come off in the first half of the first round.
Yeah, no, I think it's something that, especially with the way the NFL teams need tackles anyway, it's just
Yeah.
kind of it's just going to be a product of necessity almost.
Yeah.
With
Now
some of these
Mims,
guys.
we kind of I skated over Mims. I mean, that guy looks like he was built in a lab, man.